Frankie, I asked you to come up with your 5 top pieces of media that you consume this year.
So we did this last year too. It could be video games, could be TV shows, could be movies. That's kind of mostly it, right? YouTube videos count, I think. I wish I could say number 5 was Dahmer, but it came out last year. But if it was like, what did I watch this year? Dahmer would be number 5. Since I think we're talking about 2023 releases, I said the Boogie doc for number 5. I really liked it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. It gave me a lot to think about. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in media. Is like, give me something to think about.
That's a great pick. Especially that slice of life into Boogie was super interesting. The amount of access he was given, the documentarian.
And I really like the clip that we made about it.
And my number 5 is the song Herald of Darkness by the Old Gods of Asgard.
Wow.
Which is a fake band. The real band is called Poets of the Fall. This song is from the video game Alan Wake 2, which probably would be in this spot too, but I haven't really beaten it yet, so I can't really definitively say that it's one of my favorite things this year. But this song, I have listened to it so many times. And I have a little bit of a journey of how I got to this song. A few weeks ago, James McCaffrey died. He was the voice actor of Max Payne. And
oh, yeah.
He voiced a lot of characters in Remedy games. Famously, he was Max Payne. So I was saddened by this because Max Payne is one of my favorite games. And so I just Googled some clips of Max Payne, especially famously the beginning dialogue where he's like, "They were all dead. The final gunshot was an exclamation point on everything that led to this point. I released my finger from the trigger, and it was over."
They were all dead. The final gunshot was an exclamation mark to everything that had led to this point. I released my finger from the trigger, and then it was over.
As soon as I heard those words, I was pretty hooked to that game because I think I got a demo from PC Gamer. So I was looking up these clips, and when I did that, I was fed other things. You're fed Sam Lake interviews. Sam Lake, he wrote these games, and he produced the Alan Wake series, which I'm actually not very familiar, or I wasn't familiar with them. They're kind of like a survival horror, very inspired by Twin Peaks. The algorithm kept feeding me these things, and I was fed this music video by the Old Gods of Asgard, and I thought the thumbnail looked interesting, and I was like, whatever. I just clicked it, and the song was so good.
I'll show you the herald of darkness.
It's like so catchy. It's kind of like rock, not quite metal, but it's got kind of that vibe to it. It's like a cheesy rock song, and it's got like a musical aspect. It's a recap of the first game of Alan Wake in like a rock song. When you play the game, it actually is part of the story. The plot of Alan Wake is he's this writer, and he like goes on a vacation with his wife to like save their marriage, but there's an encounter. It's like a Twin Peaks kind of town where there's this lake, and there's like an evil entity in this lake that kind of makes the fiction that he's writing real.
The lake, it does something to the works of art created here. It makes them come true. No!
But also the reality makes the fiction. It's like this is weird feedback loop. Anyway, so this game has a segment where you're in this dark entity place. Creators of this game, just Sam Lake specifically, wanted to have this musical section. He really fought to have this musical section in it. And it kind of speaks to what, and a lot of things on my list, is this exuberance. This kind of like dedication to like making something like really special, making something that's just got a lot of passion to it.
New energy.
And just energy. And it just, to me, this song embodies all of that, like just pushing to make something that you would be happy with, you would be proud of. And it's a great song. I listened to it on repeat, like while I was doing like Christmas baking and Christmas cooking. So I bet in a few years if I hear this song again, I'll think of Christmas 2023. So
awesome.
It was just,
I love that.
It's just like, it's a great song, and the game is great too. I just haven't finished it. That's my number 5. Sorry for it's so long.
It's okay. Yeah, mine won't be nearly so long because I've talked about them I've talked about all of these on past podcasts.
Yeah, the only reason I need context for that one because it comes out of the blue. But yeah.
Yeah, number 4 for me is Mario Wonder.
Oh, cool.
Loved it. Especially once I have my 8-bit-do SN30 controller. You have to play with a controller with a dominant D-pad, I think. In the fullness of time, a couple months passing now since it was released, I've heard people say like it's a little too easy, a little too short, whatever. I'm like, it's just what the doctor ordered for a guy with no time. I wouldn't want it much harder, frankly.
Last podcast, I scandalously said the new Super Mario Brothers series is better. Hot take, new Super Mario Brothers U is better. Anyway.
Better?
Next. You know, it's good. You know, it's good. Mario's good.
It like had me laughing and in like suspense and excitement like the whole time I was playing. Like, oh, what's gonna happen? Everything was like opening gifts. Like, oh, what's gonna happen? Oh, what's gonna happen?
Oh yeah, it's definitely got such good charm, such good style. I love how they change up the style to make it look more like the 2D art style of the days of old. Trying something new, trying something novel, and having fun with animations and it's definitely a good game. Mine is The Righteous Gemstones, specifically episode 7, which is Burn for Burned, Wound for Wound, Stripe for Stripe.
Is that the Monster Truck episode?
That's the Monster Truck episode with the Redeemer, and it has the song "All the Gold in California," sung by Brother Marshall and the Choir of Fire.
In California.
In California is in a bank in the middle of Beverly Hills.
That was an awesome episode of television. It was like a spectacle. It brought all the storylines. And again, the common theme, it's just like, it seems like there's an exuberance behind making this show. There's it wants to surprise you. It wants to throw in everything like that they think would be great. Great performances, great acting, great songs. The action is like better than a lot of like Marvel shows. I loved it.
Number 3 for me was South Park Panderverse, Into the Panderverse.
Oh, that's a good one.
Like put a chick in it, make her gay, and make it lame, and all that. That's going to be in the zeitgeist for years.
Maybe.
Well, then maybe we should go a different route than we did with Indiana Jones.
Fuck Indiana Jones! Put a chick in it and make her lame and gay!
And I think like it already is. I'm just so impressed that after all this time, these guys can still come out with like these crystalline bangers of jokes that like you could put on a t-shirt and make it, you know, they still can do. That's why they're worth $1 billion or whatever.
My number 3 is Godzilla -1. I thought it was just refreshing. It was refreshing, good story, human story in a monster movie. It had good action set pieces. It made me feel something, and that's really what I want out of my media.
Absolutely. That's the purpose of it.
The creator was like, you know, making his own models in ZBrush. She was on the editing floor, making sure this thing came out the way it needed to come out, and I really appreciate that. So
my number 2 is The Righteous Gemstones. Specifically, the episode "Burn for Burn, Wound for Wound, Stripe for Stripe." I love it for all the same reasons. I rewatched it several times. It was so good, in fact, that the following 2 episodes were good, but I was a little disappointed by them because this one was just that. It almost kind of like stole the thunder of the finale. Yeah. But it ended really nicely too. But great show. I think that's the best episode of the series.
And what I appreciate about Righteous Gemstones, it feels like every season has a good natural ending. Like it tells a good story. It doesn't end on a cliffhanger. It doesn't tell half a story. It closes it out, and if there's a new season, they always find a way to start it up and make it a novel. So and I think that's the right way to do a season of television.
Yeah, in case it gets canceled, certainly.
My Name is Earl also. Yeah. Because I think a lot, that was a hit TV show.
Yeah. But Greg Garcia, the creator of the show, he's still my friend. He showed up on set one day and said, "Hey, I have bad news, guys. It looks like we're getting canceled." Wow. So like, clean out your lockers kind of vibe, and we're out of here.
It makes sure that the narrative momentum is always, at the very least, we're gonna close something out in the near term. Otherwise, shows become this kind of the mystery box thing of like, it's not about this episode, it's about the next episode at all times. That's just like chasing a high that never comes.
My number 2 is the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Wow.
You know, it's a hit in our house. I think we watch it almost every week. You know, they did it. They were respectful to the source material. They did all the great references. Sure, you know, it's like it's weird that they go to like the Donkey Kong Kingdom and there's go-karts and stuff like that, but it's just a pleasure. It's a pleasure to watch. It moves quickly. It's the kids love it. It's been a great experience. It's funny, charming. I think everyone does a great job. I love Jack Black, what he brings to the Bowser character and the exuberance he brings. So, yeah.
Nailed it.
You couldn't really ask for more. I mean, it's the best case scenario in all universes is the movie we got.
Yeah.
I put him in his place a lot of the time. So I really liked him. You know, what about you?
Yeah.
Favorite?
I remember when it first came out, people were like, I hadn't seen it just yet. It took me a couple days. And they were like, it's basically what you think it's going to be. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be. Like, it could be terrible. It could be Jack Black and Seth Rogen, you know, like ruining it, you know? I get their point. Their point is like, it makes a lot of kind of neutral decisions. But I feel like these days, making neutral decisions that don't just subvert things for no good reason is kind of in rare order. So they did it, or Miyamoto did.
And I like that they're Brooklyn plumbers again. It's the simple things.
I never miss an opportunity to say a lesser movie would have had Mario and Luigi fighting at the end of the second act. In all his lost moment, they'd be like, fine, you know, and they go their separate ways, and then Luigi, yeah, I came back for you. You know, they would do that whole thing. They didn't do that shit. They made it just like, no, they're brothers.
That's one of the things is like, you know, I have 2 young boys and they're brothers, and I think it's just so, you know, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful that they have that kind of brotherly relationship, and I think you know, they see that in the Mario and Luigi characters, and it's kind of a sweet thing.
It's right there in the title of every one of these video games and now the movie, the Super Mario Brothers. It's like the brotherly love should be a central theme, and they actually did that. Well, before I give my number 1, which I bet is predictable, I do have some honorable mentions. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I think I know what your number 1 is, and so I won't say one of my honorable mentions for that reason, but really enjoyed The Whale. Like, I love kind of like the stagey theatricalness of it. Even being in one location, mix things up. It was artful, and I love Brendan Fraser's, the passion he puts into that character. It was a great movie. The myhome.wad video.
Oh, yeah.
that goes through the Doom wad that is sort of a take on, was it House of Grass? Is that what it's called? Or the kind of liminal space horror of Doom.
Yeah, it's just some of my honorable mentions include The Menu, which is a great movie. Mario. There was a Power Rangers tribute. It didn't do a lot for me, honestly, because it kind of was still targeting young people, but it's just very cool that it exists. The other night, we saw that it was like a full-blown Chicken Run sequel. It wasn't some cheap, shitty one. It was like Netflix threw millions and millions of dollars at it and said, yeah, make another one of them. Sonic Superstars, you know, I'm not crazy about it, but like, I spent a lot of time with it because I love Sonic. Oppenheimer, of course, is great. The Sly documentary was great.
Oh, Oppenheimer. Oh, that was one of my other honorable mentions, Oppenheimer.
There's a lot of my priors here, you know, Power Rangers, Sly Stallone, Sonic, Mario, and Mutant Mayhem. Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
The kids love it, and it was a really, like, Turtles needed something fresh. And sometimes when you do something fresh with an old franchise, you ruin it, right? This actually added freshness in a way that was like really, really healthy, I think, for the franchise. So
yeah, I like that they felt like real teenagers, and in a way that's not annoying. Yeah, and I like the mutant characters and the way they made Splinter kind of like their father, and it's got like the family aspect to it. Yeah, definitely.
It was great.
Absolutely.
I hope they make another one because I think it didn't make much money at the box office, but I feel like a sequel might. Because it's got now good word of mouth, and talk about like being deliberate in the way they made it. Like that animation style was very deliberate, and it looked like they really took care to do that. And not making April the same age as them, and making the whole thing kind of awkward and difficult, and I don't fit in, man. Like that's all. That's all great. Yes, of course, my number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I just am crazy about the movie. It's certainly in my top 50 of all time, probably.
Wow.
I love the first 2 anyway. I really love the second one, which a lot of people don't like, interestingly enough. But I just think it ends up achieving this emotional catharsis with every one of its characters in such a satisfying and at times unexpected way. And I've rewatched it, and there's some parts of it that you would think like I can't show a child this, but we've watched it now together many times, and she gets it. And She's in tune with it, and it's funny where it needs to be funny, operatic and visual effects rich in the areas that it needs to be. It's like everything that makes a great Marvel movie great or a great Guardians movie great. You ever find with movies, the ones that you really love, the ones that really stay with you, it's normally because it's like, yeah, the whole movie needs to hold together, but normally it's one scene, or it's like the ending, or it's some character moment. Normally it's something like that. It's a Ride of the Rohirrim, or it's a, Rocky round 14, or, normally there's something that sticks with you, some scene that sticks with you. And I think the Dog Days Are Over sort of like dance scene at the end where Gamora goes off with the Ravagers and Peter, specifically Peter seeing his grandpa again, and his grandpa recognizing him right away, having the pictures up in the house, coming home finally, Rocket and even Nebula finally being free. It all is so it's condensed. Mantis and Drax saying goodbye to one another. It's funny, it's sad, it's beautiful. It's really the song choice is spot on. When Groot and Rocket kind of do that slow dance towards one another, that's a beautiful moment. Because you think about Groot by now as like a young man, where like Rocket was buddies with his dad.
Yeah, great villain too. The high evolutionary is a great villain.
Yeah, he's great. He doesn't get in the way of the movie.
Yeah, my number one is the Netflix series One Piece.
Holy shit.
I just love it. I think it's like one of the only TV shows like I even threaten to watch again. I just love its optimism and its adventure, especially we talking about all these series that are deconstructing and cynical, and this is just a great adventure with great characters, great relationships, great backstories. I think there's the one episode that really affected me most is like Sanji's backstory, where he has his father figure and he has a complicated past with him, and they're always like him and his it's not really his father, but his father figure. He's a cook, and they're constantly fighting throughout this like whole series of episodes, and his father figure standing on like the dock, seeing him off, and he's like thank you for putting up with my shit. And the way that it's delivered, the way it's built up, it puts you to tears because you know everything that they went through up until that point, and he didn't show any like outwardly affection to him, and then he finally drops that, and like it had me weeping. Just that kind of it was a great moment, a great adventure, and there's so many good moments like that. That's why it's number one for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with at least some of the content that came out this year, at least.
I wonder what next year will be like because of the writer's strike.
And the fact that a lot of movies and TV have kind of failed, and it's not a sure bet to do a lot of the same old. So I keep saying, I'm like, this would be the time to experiment. This would be the time to mess around with crazy ideas and maybe sell a movie based on a movie star, sell a movie based on word of mouth, lower budgets.
Lower budgets are going to be a thing, I hope. And but there will be, I think there's a few things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to Dune 2, Joker 2. Oh, House of the Dragon, of course.
Although if there was never another episode of that, I'd be fine, because I thought it ended in a cool place.
I felt satisfied.
I am never satisfied. It's a curse.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.